Alright guys, welcome to Take a Breather episode 10. It's going to be a good week. First off, we got a really cool guest from TikTok. He's a TikTok rapper. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're talking about taking the first step. The topic of the week is just do it. Hashtag Nike. So it's going to be a good week. I should be posting the Bible study on here later. So if you're interested in that, check it out on Abraham and Isaac. Should be good stuff. Let's go ahead and get her started. You know what I mean? Hey. Oh, sideways. Alright, I'm glad you guys are here. As I said before, we got a lot going on, but before we do, let's go ahead and do the song of the week. The song of the week is a little bit of a throwback, okay? Taking it back to the olden days, back when I was young, okay? It's Ooh Ah by Grits. If you haven't heard of Grits, you're probably way younger than I am, but it's okay. This song has been heard all over the place. It's been on movies, it's been on shows, it's been on all kinds of stuff. Check it out, Ooh Ah by Grits. My life be like ooh ah. Anyways, that's the song of the week. Let's go ahead and do our student spotlight. Student spotlight for this week is a student of our own. His name is Matthew Connerman, and he is a baller. He plays ball at Male High School, and he can throw down, and you just watch the video.
Rockstar lifestyle, might not give up. Waking up next to different 9 times out of 10, I probably won't miss up. Want the juice, so they moving like Bishop. Eliante got me iced out. Yeah, I ain't nothing like a rapper. I'm an artist.
As I said before, he's a bit of a baller. He's probably the best guy at our church, but I think he's really good at basketball, really cool anyways. He's just a great guy. I'm glad you're here, Matthew. You make my heart happy. Also, this week we're doing a new segment called Deep Breath. And this week's Deep Breath is brought to you by Megan Glass, another one of our own students. She has some words of encouragement for you here. Listen up. Here it is.
You are loved. You are one of a kind. Being different isn't fun. Being different isn't easy. But being different is okay. Being different doesn't change who you are, it makes you stronger. We all have struggles and weaknesses, but having God in our life is our ultimate power. It's easy to fall to the pressures of the world, hence why it's so important to lean on God. Lean on Him when people are looking and when you're alone. Stand up, stand out, be different. A Bible verse I go to and find strength in is 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. But He said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made in perfect weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest more on me. This is why, in Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, and insults, and hardships, and persecutions, and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong.
And finally, we're going to go ahead and get to our segment of the show, where we talk about God and really get into the meat of the show. We have a guest for this week. His name is Matt, but goes by Madouble on TikTok. You might have heard of him. He does a lot of TikTok rap. Here's one of his videos.
Last bit of water. It's 2:59. It's 2:59. I'm not recording past 3. So if I don't get it on this take, it just went to 3. This is my last take. Officially. Look. Splash, stimulus cash, thinking they hot, but really they ash. Colder than aloe vera on a rash. They pass up the rock like Steve Nash, but nothing's impossible. Listen like Audible, jazz in the finals. I'm seeing a lot of bull. I'm from Narnia, these are my chronicles. Praying for all my people who are prodigals, yeah. I just want to see them come home. Don't want them thinking that they are alone. I know that God is calling they phone, so why they keep sending them straight to the tone? I'm popping like soda, got wisdom like Yoda, but they just don't listen. I'm feeling like Noah, the flood is coming, load up. Don't wait until the raindrops go.
Splash.
Uh-oh.
Now that you know how my eyes be, I'm on the seats of a Nike. But you know me, I'm low-key. Don't say a word, and I say fly like a bird.
I'm excited about it. Everybody give it up for Matt. Well, what's going on, man? How's it going?
It's going well. How about yourself?
I can't complain. How's the weather in Texas?
It's been pretty hot lately. It's starting to we're seeing our first hundreds over the past couple of weeks. So yeah, it's pretty warm. Me and my wife, we went on a bike ride this morning. We have one of those little hookups where we got a trailer. We put our kids in the back, and then we just take off. And so if we don't go early enough, and this was one of those mornings where about halfway through I got sweat dripping from my forehead. Had the glasses on, so I couldn't wipe my face. It was pretty miserable. So it's getting to that point where it's hard to even kind of go outside when it's that hot.
It sounds like a struggle. It's like 61, at least it was earlier here in Kentucky. So
wow.
Yeah, it's a humid 61 though, so it's still not the best.
Right.
Awesome stuff, man. So let's see. You're from Texas. I guess before we get started into everything else, really, before we talk about your music or your ministry, I guess, would you call it a ministry? Or
Most definitely.
okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess just to kind of get into my story, I graduated from high school in 2010.
Okay.
Didn't really know the Lord back then. I mean, I knew of Him, went to
Right.
church occasionally, but wasn't by any means in a relationship with Him. And so my senior year, I was invited to play in the FCA All-Star Game, which is FCA is like a
Mm.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I
Yeah.
don't know if y'all
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
it
We got that
there.
up here. Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, I was asked to do that for the football game. I played quarterback, and so I accepted. You know, even though I wasn't, it's kind of one of those things where they invited me, even though I wasn't by any means the best Christian athlete
Hey,
around, but
you got on. That's all that matters.
wasn't necessarily right. I wasn't necessarily a heathen either, so I don't know. I guess I had them fooled a little bit, but anyway, so they, and I know what they're doing. They're not just trying to get a bunch of perfect kids over there. They're on a mission themselves, and so
Right.
it's a ministry. And so I went to this All-Star week, and they do all kinds of stuff with the kids in terms of worship and just trying to give them an opportunity to hear the gospel. And so I was one night we're worshiping, and the preacher is preaching, and they do kind of an altar call type thing, and that was my night. That was the night that the Lord chose to come and wreck my heart. And don't get me wrong, there were kind of seeds planted leading up to that.
Right.
That I can remember, meeting with my youth pastor, Jared, and him just kind of trying to steer me in the right direction. But that night at that FCA All-Star event, that All-Star week, it was the Saul to Paul moment for me, which ironically enough was what was preached that night. And so, that whole story, I was just reading it this past week, that Saul to Paul, the scales scraped from his eyes. I mean, that was the moment that I had. And so to answer your question, the funny part about it is, as soon as I got done with that FCA All-Star week, I had done some songs before that, just kind of messing around with buddies of mine. But I came home from that FCA All-Star week, and I kind of forgot I had just ordered a new microphone to start recording songs.
Nice.
And so it's it's one of those things where God's working behind the scenes. And so I open up this box, and there's a new microphone in it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like it hit me like, I need to write this down. I need to make a song. Yeah. And so I remember, getting in my little studio computer room at my parents' house, and I laid down a track. My very first song for the Lord, it was called "Hold You Down." It was actually a B.O.B. original song, and I just kind of chopped it up and made my own little remix.
B.O.B.
That's what I did a lot. Early on, I just made remix after remix, but anyway, yeah, I mean, from that point on, it was like, I want to make music that is entertaining, and I've grown a lot as an artist. Like, what do I want to do? How do I want my music to be received? But it's without a doubt a ministry. I mean, I can't. It's hard for me to separate the two. There's some times where I make songs that it's like, this isn't necessarily a song for ministry purposes,
right?
But like I've made a song about pizza and just random stuff like that. But at the same time, and usually the songs I'm most passionate about are the ones where there's a message behind it, and a deeper meaning behind it. So it definitely is a ministry.
I mean, that's a good point, because you can minister to anybody anywhere. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter what your job is. You don't have to be a preacher just to minister to people.
Right.
One thing I do here in Louisville, I'm a reserve deputy sheriff, so I'm like a volunteer sheriff. But we'll go out and do police work. But through that, I've had the opportunity to talk to people about God and pray over people. I remember there's this one kid.
Right.
He got jumped, and he was laying in the middle of the street, like in the west end of Louisville. It's a busy road. And we pulled over and stopped him, and I held his hand while we waited for the ambulance, and I prayed over him, and I don't know where he's at now, but
Right.
you can minister anywhere. That's good stuff, man.
Oh
Good
yeah,
stuff.
for sure. For sure.
So I guess we'll get more into your music. I guess you kind of already talked about it, but what made you want to take up hip hop, and I guess what inspired you to do that and to, I guess, go viral, or I guess go big with it and really start saying like this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna go big with it, and this isn't just for me. This is for whoever wants to listen.
Right. So that kind of goes back to middle school for me. I played Pop Warner football growing up. My dad was my coach, and my 6th grade year, he was asked to go coach like a different team from like the different side of town than I guess our side of town was. And so I think they had a coach that was moving on. His kid was going up into junior high or whatever. And so my dad asked me, and I was too young to really know, but I said yes. And so anyway, we went from the team that was on my side of town, was more kind of George Strait country. We had 2 or 3 black guys on the team, but it was more George Strait being played. But then this team that we moved to is different part of the town. Obviously, like you would say, more the hood, I guess. And so anyway, we start going and picking kids up for practice because they don't have a ride. Their parents don't take them to practice. And, next thing you know, they're bringing CDs, and I mean, they're listening to hip hop, they're listening to rap. And that's when I kind of got exposed to it. And, I loved it too. Like I just listened, and that was kind of back whenever 50 Cent and Eminem were really big. And I was huge fans of their music.
That's the good.
I mean, oh yeah. And so I just loved hip hop, and I caught a little bit of crap for it from some of my buddies from school, but you like what you started like. Then, and yeah, I mean, you like what you like, and so I chose. They bought George Strait CDs, and Kenny Chesney, and I bought Nelly and 50 Cent and all that stuff. Clean version, of course, because my parents didn't want me. Didn't want me bumping all the explicit language. So
that's fair.
Not that it was still the most clean music, but anyway, that's when it started for me. And so I loved hip hop and I loved rap from that point on. And I would watch battle rap videos. I just engulfed myself in that culture and just consumed as much hip hop and rap as I could because I loved it. And, it wasn't until high school where I actually started dabbling and trying to make a song here or there, which was about 2008, 2009. And
when did you graduate?
Like I said, graduated high school 2010. And so that's whenever it happened.
A smidge older than I am.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where it started, and it's just grown from there. My love for the genre, and obviously it's a love-hate relationship because I mean the message, while I love that it's a genre where you can lay out your worldview and your message, you can lay it plain and clear. I mean, it's hard. Hip hop is a lyricist genre for the most part. Some people may argue with that nowadays, and even myself, because it seems like we're getting away from that, where it's kind of a lot of hoopla and not a whole lot of words to it. But for me, hip hop is a lyrical genre, and so that's what I try to bring to it, at least from my perspective.
So who is like your hip hop inspiration? Because I like hip hop too. I didn't listen to a whole bunch of hip hop when in middle school, but once I got to high school, I wouldn't say it was mostly black, but it was at least over half. And so actually it's kind of funny. I went to a Christian school for a long time in middle school, and there were 14 kids in my 8th grade class, and there was one black guy in the whole school. So I went from there it's called Fern Creek High School, where it's majority black, and it was kind of culture shock.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, I didn't really get into rap music until I was in high school. And at that time, for me, my favorite rapper was Lil Wayne, which
Oh yeah, I was a huge Lil Wayne
yeah,
fan.
no DJ, all that stuff.
In high school, really,
Yeah.
he was the king for me.
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
he kind of passed the torch to Drake. For me, and even just it seems like that's kind of what he did
Yeah.
for the culture. Like, because Drake kind of seems like Wayne's ceiling is Drake's floor now, and so. But yeah, Wayne was a huge inspiration. Like I said, 50 Cent and Eminem were kind of middle school and even on into high school. But yeah, those guys were big starting out. Obviously, once I kind of came to the faith, I started listening to Lecrae, Andy Mineo, those guys, and so which is good because you're getting the hip hop, but you're also getting the message that is gonna spur you on towards your walk with the Lord. And so for me, especially as a new Christian, that was vital for me because I wasn't torn between two. I still listened to Drake's new albums and stuff like that, but it was nice being able to listen to some Christians who were putting out good music as well that would encourage me in my walk.
I think yeah, I'm right on with that. I think for me, I love hip hop, but anymore when I listen to it, it's like you almost can't enjoy it because what they're talking about. It's like you get into like the beat or whatever, and then all of a sudden they start talking about stuff, and it's like, oh gosh, like. All right, so hip hop is one of those things that you said earlier, where you kind of lay it out on the table, you put your whole heart out there, and it's kind of you're putting yourself in the spotlight, on the line. Is there any point where you were intimidated with that, or I guess apprehensive or nervous or anxious to go forward and to reach as many people who you've reached?
Absolutely. It's funny when I think about when I first started, I thought I didn't think my voice was deep enough. And so I would go in and lower my voice just a little bit. I didn't want it enough where people could notice, but I would go in and I would drop it down, just a couple, I think like
this is Darth Vader,
7%. Yeah, just because I wanted to sound a little deeper and a little, and so it makes me think of that scene in the where Thor and Chris Pratt are going at it. So it was that kind of thing. It's like I wanted to sound, real manly, and so like I was super intimidated, and I obviously there's a little bit. I mean, I'm kind of a black sheep when it comes to hip hop. Not so much now because it's, you got guys like Lil Dicky who are just breaking down those cultural barriers where it's like, kind of the anyone can rap type thing. But early on, I was pretty self-conscious, didn't know how I would be accepted. But at the same time, like coming from that middle school, Pop Warner football practice where we're loading up, it's me and 5 other all black dudes, black kids. I mean, they didn't treat me any differently. They accepted me, and every now and then when I would try to drop some bars as we were freestyling, I mean, they would almost hype me up even more because they just loved that I was getting in on it with them. And so while I have been a little self-conscious, I also I know it's fear, and more than anything, it's not a reality. It's just in my head a fear, and if anything, it's the enemy trying to hold me back from sharing my gift and sharing my message.
Yeah, and there comes a point where you have to just, and I struggle with this even with this show, and all I'm doing is talking to people. Well, like it's kind of intimidating because you are putting yourself out there, but there comes a point where you're like, look, I don't care that much. Like, this is what I'm doing. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch the show. And if you do, then it's great. And, especially when you get into, like, a ministry and turn it into a ministry, it's not even about being cool or how many likes you get. It's about how many people are inspired or how many people's lives are changed through what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff, man. That's awesome. Once you started creating music and putting yourself out there, did you have a point where you realized that your fears weren't as big as you thought they'd be? Like, was there a defining moment for that or what?
Um, I mean, for me, it was. I remember even my first kind of live performance was I went to ACU, Abilene Christian University, and they do a talent show for freshmen during the little welcome week, freshman orientation, and there were a couple girls who were in charge of welcome week, and they had heard my music because I had put a few songs out, and one of the songs that I put out was called "Jesus Is My Buddy," and this was like the youth group anthem back when I put it out, because it was the "Teach Me How to Dougie" song, but Jesus is my buddy, so it was the Christian remix, and so like it went crazy. People loved it. But when they asked me to do it live, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like, but I said yes, just because, again, they were hyping me up, like, you got to do this, and so I said yes, and sure enough, the talent show was at the Paramount Theater, which is a really nice theater in Abilene. It holds, like, I don't know, 1,000 people, something like that. And so, that talent show night comes, and sure enough, it's a packed house, and there I am about to get on stage and perform my first, song live. And I was so nervous. But I went out there and did it, and I mean, people loved it. The song blew up even more because people, word of mouth, and there was a video on YouTube of it. I'll have to see if I can find it and send it to you. But it was definitely one of those where, I mean, I was afraid, the fear was there, but you just kind of do it anyway. And
Okay.
there wasn't really any backing out when I'm backstage and it's my turn
At
to
that
go
point,
up.
it's like,
So it's
what can
funny
you do?
because like, I even remember watching the video back. You could tell I was nervous because I stood in the same place the whole time. I didn't move. Like, now I'll work the stage and kind of move a little
Yeah.
bit. I just stood right there, and I was just
This is it.
rapping. And
Yeah.
so, but like I said, they loved it, and the crowd went crazy, and it kind of encouraged me to keep going. So it was one of those. It was without a doubt one of those stepping stones. And a lot of times, there is some fear to take that next leap and that next step. But once you take it, you realize that you can overcome those fears, and so it's huge in walking with the Lord too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's awesome, dude. All right, so our topic of the week, we break our weeks up into topics. So this week's topic of the week is just do it, which is taking that first step or that next step in your relationship with Christ.
Right.
And this week's, I guess, the scripture is Genesis 22, where we talk about Abraham and Isaac. So I guess really all I really am asking is, what are some words of encouragement or some, I guess, thoughts from you on how that you can give these teens on how to move forward or whatever it is?
I think, and this may sound kind of weird, but I think what I would tell them is that you can't do it. And here's what I mean by that is, your willpower can only get you so far. I mean, this kind of goes against what some people are teach in terms of, like, you can, and have an I can attitude. And I think that there's a time and place for that. But also, one of the things that I have learned in my walk with the Lord is I need Jesus. Like, I need
Preach.
to
Yeah.
I need to get to a place where he is strengthening me. And it's like I said, there's a tension. There's kind of a tension between the two, like, do it and I can, and I do think that's important. I'm not telling people to be negative and pessimistic, but at the same time, dependence on the Lord and dependence on His Spirit inside of us is huge. And Jesus wouldn't have said the verses like, stay attached to the vine, because apart from me you can do nothing. He wouldn't have said that if if like we were the vine and we had the power within ourselves.
Right.
And so, you know, I hear verses like that, and I'm like, man, like even on days where I feel strong, I'm not going to bear any fruit unless I am attached to the vine. And so it's encouraging because even though I'm weak, and even on my weak days, I can still bear fruit if I'm attached to the vine. You know, it's like
Right.
Paul, though I'm weak, I'm strong. And so, you know, it's confusing, and I don't fully understand it, but I think that again, it's a relationship and a dependence upon him that gives us the strength to do it, to live the life that he's called us to live, and to fulfill, you know, the law, which is to love each other. And so I would say come to grips with the fact that you can't do it. It's like that's almost like the first step, is realizing that you don't have it within yourself. So
I think dude, that's spot on. That's awesome. That's
I appreciate it.
That was spirit led.
Well, I'm living it, man. I feel that need, especially being home. I feel the tension, you know, just that I don't have it within myself to love my family the way that Christ does. And so I need him to fill me. I need him to give me that love. You know, we love because he first loved us. So
I think one of the hardest things, at least for me when I was growing up and everything, and for other people too, is the hardest part to grasp about Christianity. Oop, I think I'm not even recording anymore. Whatever, we'll just keep it this way. The hardest part to grasp about Christianity is the fact that I need him.
right.
And like that's an actual need. And right. I think, you know, sometimes, at least for me, I try to go, oh, well, I can do it. I can like pull myself up on my bootstraps, and I got this.
Right,
and
right.
I do not got this. Like,
right.
100% do not.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. Awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on the show.
Appreciate it, man.
You're welcome anytime. I don't know if you'd be interested in coming back again.
Yeah, sure. I love it, man.
But yeah, man, we'll give you some clout. I think that's what the teens say. We'll give
Cool.
you some clout on.
Yeah. I'll take all the clout I can get.
So that's that, guys. Like I said earlier, this week's topic of the week is just do it, about taking that next step of faith in your walk with Christ. Whether that's just first giving your life to Christ and saying, hey, my life is yours, or whether it's saying, hey, I want you to take my life in this direction, or I'm just going to follow you wherever you take me. That's the topic of the week. I pray for you guys that you guys can come to know Jesus and know his love and his grace and his compassion and how much he cares and loves for you. If you don't already know that. And that's my prayer for this. If this show doesn't do anything else, I want somebody to hopefully come to Jesus, or a seed be planted in somebody's life that Jesus Christ loves you. You know, sometimes you can get wrapped up into how many likes a video gets, how many views a video gets, how many comments, whatever a video gets. And, you know, I don't really care much about that. It's kind of cool to see how many likes or views you can get. But my goal and my vision for this show is to build a community of young people who love Jesus and who are getting to know Jesus and who are falling in love with him again and again and again. That's my goal for this show. I don't care if we ever get famous. I don't care if we have 1 million followers. I don't care. I want people who love Jesus and who want to grow closer. And I hope and pray that this show is a platform where you can learn more about him and get to know Jesus better. That's the goal of the show. If this show is anything but that, if this show does anything but glorify the Creator, it needs to not exist anymore. And it's as simple as that. Stay tuned for Bible study. I'll post that on the YouTubes as soon as I can. And yeah, I love you guys. Have a good week. I'll see y'all soon.
How about you still recording?
Yeah.
How about I drop a little rap for you guys, since I am a rapper. I'll drop a little something. So this is This is an old one I did. It's kind of just got my testimony kind of wrapped up in a couple verses. So I may mess it up because it's been a little while, but
Oh, you're good.
I'll
I can't
go ahead
rap at
and go
all,
for
so
it. Right. So we'll just cut it if I drop the mic. So
that's fine.
I was a SINNER sinner, chasing my own glory since I was a beginner. Forbidden fruit diet, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, no connection with the Lord because I broke my antenna. Living in rebellion, running like a felon, no concern for that stuff my pastor was selling. But then I hit rock bottom, empty to the core. All of a sudden, now I'm knocking at my pastor's door. He told me everything I trusted in had turned its back. But if I look right next to me, that's where my Savior's at. Wow. And I encourage you to do the same. When this world says worthless and tries to put you to shame, Jesus, go ahead, call on his name. Because if you were the only sinner, he still would have came to take the nails in his hands and feet. See, he will love you for all of eternity. I used to be a sinner. I was running from his grace, starving for affection. Then the Lord gave me a taste, everlasting love that cannot be replaced, an orphan heart that needed a fatherly embrace. It's time to face the lies that the devil told you, like, you're so sick, even chicken noodle won't do. But not sick like, ooh, check out my kicks, like, you're so broken, there's no way you could ever get fixed, right? Wrong. See, those are lies from the enemy, saying you'll never be worthy, so don't even pretend to be. But reading Psalm 23, I see liberty, power in the Trinity. Jesus came to deliver me. The cross takes his wrath, chains break in half. The very reason I can look death in the face and laugh. Because there's no power in the grave. Yeah, I used to be a slave. Because of Jesus, I am saved.